G'day and welcome back to the not so weekly news from the bench of RC Model Reviews. Now today, trying to keep this quick as I always do and always fail in epic proportion. A couple of things to talk about. First of all, the long range UHF reviews, and I have been working extremely hard on those. They've taken an immense amount of time, as I've told you before. The final part of this whole thing was actually testing the damn things over a long range, and unfortunately in this country it is illegal to fly any radio controlled model beyond the visual line of sight. You have to keep them in sight at all times. So I couldn't think of a way where I could legally test the long range capabilities of these radio systems. Now I did think maybe I should just throw the receivers on the back of the truck, turn the transmitter on and just drive away, but that's not really a real world test because we're not going to use these things to control vehicles on a road. The craft we're going to be flying are actually going to be in the air, so you need to be able to fly something from a long distance away to test and see whether the claims made for these long-range systems are accurate and valid. So I was scratching my head, you can see the bruises, for a long time, and then finally it dawned on me, I have a solution. I can do this without breaking the law. So stay tuned for that. That's the missing piece of the whole UHF series. Now I might open with that piece because of course that's a bit everyone wants to know about. How far can I fly with these long range systems and which one gives me the most range? So I'm going to be testing that probably as the first part of the technical side of these long range reviews, and I'm sure everyone is chomping at the bit waiting to hear which one works the best. So this will give you a lead in, and then we'll look at how they achieve these things, you know, the technology, the designs, the construction, the ease of use, and all those things I've mentioned previously. So stay tuned for that. It's taken an awfully long time. If the weather cooperates, we might get that out this week, but my fingers are crossed. But at the moment, as you can see, I'm all rugged up. It's cold, it's freezing. The winter has arrived in earnest. It's raining outside and you can see your breath in the air. It's just, ugh. I hate this time of the year. It's really annoying. And if I didn't have my studio, I'd have to have 4 jackets on. So here we go. Right, what else is coming up in this not so weekly news? Well, I mentioned in the last one about flying fixed wing FPV racing in the same sort of areas you might fly mini quad, because my flying options are pretty limited at the moment. And I actually sat down and I designed a small, highly maneuverable, fast, but with a good wide speed range, aerobatic FPV racing craft. And I was going to go and cut some foam cores and start messing around, and I thought, well, a lot of people have said, hey, look at this, look at that, look at the other, all these commercially available airframes. I thought, well, maybe I should take a closer look at some of the commercially available airframes. And HobbyKing had a sale. I love it when they have a sale. So I bought one of these. Actually, I bought 4 of these. Look at that. It is the Banzai from HobbyKing, and doesn't it frame my face nicely? Isn't it good? I'm ready for my close-up now. But it's EPP, so it's super strong. You know, you're not going to break this in a hurry. You can put a mini quad motor on here. It'll take a 1806, no problems at all. All you need to make them fly is some 5-gram servos. They've even got holes cut for those. Although it'd be nice if they were cut on an angle so the linkage was straight. But hey, we'll build it as spec'd. So we've got a motor, 2 5-gram servos, receiver and ESC, and a battery, and we have a fixed wing craft that we can fly. Then of course I'm going to put on the low-cost RC timer FPV system that I reviewed a video, in the last video I think it was, maybe the one before, I can't remember. Put that on there because that's only another 26 bucks, and we'll have an FPV racer. I got 4 of these delivered to my door for under 25 bucks each. That was pretty good value. So I'm handing them around the group of flyers here, and we'll all have these and we'll go out and see what we can do. If we can't fly FPV racing, we'll just do combat, FPV combat, see how we get on. So I will keep you informed. There'll be a video on this on the HobbyKing Banzai. I think other people have reviewed it, but I'll do a mini review as well. But look at the concept of flying these as fixed wing FPV racing machines. They should be good, nice and small, nice and tough. All the things I was really looking for when I originally had the idea of doing this. So stay tuned for that. Now something else that came in recent weeks was this. See that? Ooh, pity we're not 3D. It is the Xiaomi Yi action camera. And a lot of people have said a lot of things about these. I bought this because everyone was saying this is just so good. It's almost as good as a GoPro for a fraction of the price. It's got the same chipset, the what is it, the something Ambarella chipset or something rather, which gives you 60 frames per second at 1080p. And I thought, ooh, this would be nice. This would be nice because I've got the SJ4000, I've got an SJ5000 knockoff thingy, which is not very good. And I've got the Mobius and the run cam, of course, so this was going to be the best of the lot. Something to give me some nice, I can film at 60p, looks nice and smooth and fluid. And it's about the same form factor as a GoPro, not exactly. There's reviews online, you can see what people think of these things. So with high expectations, I went and I bought one of these from Banggood. what a tragic story that is. Banggood usually pretty good suppliers. I had my ups and downs with them, but overall they don't do too bad a job. Now, I saw this was on special. It was marked down from $120 to $92 or something. I thought, that's not bad, eh? Because if it is as good as they say, 92 bucks, reasonable price. So I placed my order. And then when I went back the next morning to check, my order hadn't shipped, but the price had dropped to 70 bucks or $72 or something. So, you know, I thought, damn. Anyway, a couple of days later, still hadn't shipped, and the price was still at 72 bucks. So I did my 20 bucks, but that's the way it goes, isn't it? It would be nice, I think, actually, if a company that lowers the price of a product before they ship the one you've bought and paid for credited you with the difference, because they're picking the same stock off the same shelves. But no, that doesn't happen at Banggood. So I just sucked it up and, 20 bucks down the Google, and never mind. And then I got the shipping notice that it had shipped, but it was shipped by Sweden Post. So, oh God, we all know the stories of Swiss Post and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, same thing. It has to go all the way to Sweden and all the way back. So it took nearly a month before I got my camera. And then I thought, great, I've got my flash new camera, 60 frames per second, nearly as good as a GoPro. I took some video with it, and was I disappointed? Honestly, this isn't a review, but basically what happened was there was a batch of these cameras that were released from the factory with bad focus. And this is one, of course, because if there's a dud out there, I get it. So I couldn't use it. I mean, the results are just terrible. It was so badly out of focus that when you pointed it at a bright area, it actually fogged the entire image. That the bright areas of the sky would just overlap and fog over the grass and the trees and everything. Awful, awful, worst camera I've got by far. So I contacted Banggood. They said, well, just pull it apart and refocus it. And that's all very well to say that, but I paid 20 bucks over the odds for a camera that I have to fix before I can even actually use it. No, yeah, this is the kind of risk you take when you buy Chinese products or any product from an overseas supplier, where customer support simply consists of saying, we'll try better next time, which is exactly what Banggood said. So I got myself an overpriced camera that doesn't work very well. I pulled it apart, I've tried to refocus it. The problem with refocusing is I don't have a high definition, TV. I don't have a micro HDMI leader for a start to plug into here. So that's another expense. A $90 camera becomes a $105 camera by the time I fork out for a micro HD lead. And I tried to focus it using the tablet, but the video that comes down from the tablet is very low resolution, so you can't focus when the resolution is so low. So I'm not a happy camper with this. Now, other people have had better results. The other thing is, after you take it out of the box and you refocus it, then you've still got to reflash it, because the standard bitrate just doesn't support 60 frames a second with that awful pixelation and compression artifacts. So it's really, I don't know. At this stage, you can buy one if you want. Some people like them. But to be honest, my SJ4000 is 10 times the camera this is, and my Mobius is 10 times the camera this is, based on what I've got in my hand at the moment. And that's all I can base it on. So I'll be doing I might order one from another camera. In fact, actually, just speaking of it, the guys from GearBest are still pestering me, take one of our products and review it. And I've got something that is using the same Umbrella chipset, which claims 60 frames a second, but has an LCD screen on the back. Because one of the things I don't like about this as well is that I have to use a tablet to even just change the video mode. What's with that? That's right. If I want to go from 60 frames a second to 30 frames a second, can't push any of these buttons to do it. You've got to get your smartphone out or get your tablet out and use the Wi-Fi to change the setting on screen. You've got to log into this and fart around and, really? And especially when you consider that my smartphone looks like this. Here's my smartphone. You see that? Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful smartphone? It's not a smartphone. It's actually, it's a dumb phone. In fact, the little handle on the side you're wide to get the operator's fallen off even. That's how bad it is. The only redeeming feature of this phone is it's got Velcro on the back, so I can stick my Mobius on there, I can fly to the Concords, and it becomes a camera phone. But that's it. So I can't use my phone because my phone doesn't have any kind of smart capabilities. But this is brilliant because I don't have to charge it for week after week. It gets 3 weeks out of a single charge on the battery. Now that's what I call a valuable feature. And that's why I use this phone. But I do have a tablet, and I use the tablet, but I don't have to lug something else to the flying field. Now, if you've got an iPhone 27 or a Samsung 92 or whatever the latest versions are, then you probably don't care too much about the fact this is Wi-Fi only. But I do, so that's just me. But as I say, GearBest seem to have one with the same specs that has an LCD on the back, so I would assume that, like the SJ4000, you can change your settings using the little on-screen display. Woo, that'd be brilliant. Let's see if it's any good. I'll get one, I'll order one, see how it works out. And I might just order it covertly without whatever, so I can check out GearBest's service as well. There we go. Anyway, that's another thing I was going to talk about today. What else is there? just a quick heads up, here in New Zealand, they've passed new laws regarding the use of model aircraft into legislation. In fact, the legislation comes into effect on the 1st of August. And I'm going to do a separate video on this because there's some interesting aspects to the way our aviation administrator has tried to balance the interests of public safety against the interests of those who want to use, model aircraft, for any other name, to do aerial filming or even just fly them anywhere, right? So there's a delicate balance they've tried to juggle here. And I have to say, I don't think they've done a very good job, but you'd expect me to say that, wouldn't you? But to give you an indication of how radical this whole thing is, as of August the 1st, there will no longer be any radio-controlled model aircraft in this country. That's right, they all cease to exist. Doesn't matter if you've locked one up in a big steel box, stuck it under your bed and then locked the bedroom door, it's not going to be there on August the 1st because the new regulations strike out all references to radio-controlled model aircraft and replace them with remotely piloted aircraft. That's right, we become pilots because we're not flying models anymore, we're flying remotely piloted aircraft. And that gives you an indication of the angle that our administrator is coming from. And in some ways it's quite good. In other ways, she's pretty draconian. So I'm going to have a separate video, probably a bit of a rant on that. Not here though, because this is just the weekly news. And one other thing to talk about today, this issue of what do I do, because these new regulations are actually going to make it even harder for me to fly legally. Oh man, if I had hair, I'd pull it out. It's just getting worse and worse. Anyway, the new regulations are quite draconian in some respects. And then, I could be doing what I'm doing now, I could be facing $2,000 infringement notice or a $5,000 court fine, or even worse, if somebody bitches and CAA come along and say, criticise us, will you? We'll fix you. So who knows? But I'll go through that in another video. But suffice to say, people have said, well, why don't you get a piece of land and we'll crowdfund it and we'll, you can get started and set up what you want to do and then everyone benefits. And I've said, yeah, it's good, but the prices, the amount of money involved is so high now. I have found the perfect place. Now, I'm not going to talk about it here because, again, this is another video, but watch out for another video coming up. We won't be able to crowdfund it, but I'm going to propose another idea that might be of interest to people out there. And I have had contact from a couple of people who've proposed certain ideas. I'm going to get back to them very shortly and we'll discuss the options. So hopefully we'll have a resolution to this issue that, means we all come out winning. You guys get all your videos at a much greater rate than you're getting them now. Maybe the sense and avoid system gets finished and the airspace becomes safer for everybody. And maybe I can train people on how to use these these remotely piloted aircraft, because that's going to be a really big issue. And one of the things that civil aviation here have just completely neglected. Right, that's it for another Not So Weekly week. I don't think I've got anything else to talk about. Looks around. No, don't have a list even. So thank you for watching. Time for me to get back to the bench, try and get this UHF stuff sorted and a few other bits and pieces. In the meantime, fly safely and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.